So I'm releasing this video as a part 2 to my first video on the matter. Videos in the card above and the description below, as I didn't want to leave a video up alone that might not be and still honestly isn't the whole story. And I'm recording this at 3 AM, so I apologize. Don't accuse me of spreading misinformation. I'm just trying to get this out as soon as possible. So the story drama between Hellena Taylor and Platinum Games gets a little meatier here, as allegedly exposed by Jason Schreier. So in the previous video, I showed Hellena Taylor's statements and mentioned my views on the matter. I still stand by those statements. and I still will not be picking up this game at launch, but I'll get into that later. So full disclosure, I did not read Schreier's article. I tried. It was locked behind a paywall, which is pretty scummy, and I've tried with 3 different emails. I could not get the website to verify my email. So I had to go to Twitter, Reddit, and Yongye to pick up the pieces. So again, take this information for what it is. I'm just being upfront about it. And update after recording this, you can listen to the article on the website, but it's still gated behind the paywall. It's just like a pro tip, I guess, that I found. You can still listen to the article. So what I've gathered is that allegedly Taylor grossly misrepresented the deals she was offered by Kamiya. While she originally claimed it was $4,000, according to Jason Schreier's anonymous sources that were provided to Bloomberg and vetted, allegedly, she was offered $4,000 per session for a minimum of 5 sessions. This information is allegedly coming from 2 individuals who are familiar with the deal, though are unable to speak on the issue. This is an important aspect to note, in my opinion. Hellena Taylor allegedly declined and asked for 6 figures as well as residuals. Residuals are not common in voice acting, but it is something that voice actors are pulling for. Apparently, after lengthy negotiations, she was offered a cameo at the rate of 1 session. So this does line up with the story she was presenting of $4,000 being her final offer, as well as Kamiya's Twitter alleging that she was actually offered $15,000. If this is true, Taylor completely misrepresented the situation for Twitter clout, and it looks pretty damning to her, since she did claim to receive an insulting offer that on all accounts looks like a generous offer according to the industry standards. However, she has also commented to Bloomberg that it's an absolute lie and Platinum is trying to save their ass and their game, which, to be honest, is possible. At the moment, this is still pretty much hearsay. Both sides have not really presented any evidence, and to be honest, both sides have comments that really rub me the wrong way here. And we'll get into that in a second, but it does seem like the Platinum side of things has more corroborations to Schreier's take than to Taylor's. But I mean, if everyone has the same Platinum source on the inside, it's going to be corroborated. There's a possibility that it's all coming from the same person. So I mentioned already in the last video that I felt Taylor was kind of wild with her corporate fat cat screaming off the top comments and talking about the underpaid nurses in England and how this is a fight for everyone who's underpaid in the world. I was like, calm down. You're asking to be paid fair. You don't have to make it a global campaign. But I mean, now I think it's even worse that she's misrepresenting the situation. Again, allegedly, but she's misrepresenting the situation while quoting Jesus in the Bible. Borderline lying if those counterclaims are true. That's really bad in my opinion. Like, whoa, what are you doing? To her credence against the shadow of doubts being cast, though, she is breaking NDA. She is speaking out against the hand that's feeding her, so that it's probably career suicide if this isn't true. I mean, she is opening herself up to a well-funded developer, opening up to lawsuits, maybe even defamation from Platinum and Hale, depending on how much damage these comments do. I also didn't really appreciate her comments about Hale, as I doubt Jennifer Hale knew it personally. And I mean, it's business, and Jennifer Hale wants to put food on the table as much as Taylor does, so you can't really fault her for taking the job. And since she broke NDA already and claims not to care, she's walking around with that BDE, she should start showing those receipts and prove her point. Now for the other side, Jason Schreier's tweets after his article are so full of himself, it's like the episode of South Park where they sniff their own farts. Namely this quote in particular: "It's unlikely that the full story will get as much traction or as many eyeballs as the original Twitter videos, which, in my opinion, raises some interesting questions about the pleas to emotion and how information is disseminated in the social media age." Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Jennifer Hale does the same thing by retweeting this under a big thread on Twitter about misinformation. And by definition, misinformation is a false or inaccurate information, especially that which is deliberately intended to deceive. No one of these content creators, myself included, was spreading misinformation by stating their opinions on the story that was in front of them. That's what the news does. And Platinum and Nintendo's silence didn't help the matters, and Kamiya's outlandish Twitter escapades probably hurt the case. And Mr. Jason, if you wanted the story in front of people, then post it online without a paywall, my guy. Of course Taylor is going to blow up on Twitter with this stuff because it's the only side people are seeing. Nobody wants to pay for the Bloomberg article. The Platinum game side is objectively harder to find, and like just saying that, oh, it's because of how it's because of people in the digital age. If my take doesn't get traction, it's solely because society is based against the truth. It's just rhetorical nonsense, and it just seems really narcissistic. I swear this guy despises any content creator because he's had issues with that before. That talk about game, it just seems like such a narcissistic take. And since there's been issues with it before, I swear this guy just despises any YouTube content creators that talk about games because he's such an elitist with this crap. Namely his feud with Young Yif a few years ago. I mean, how are people who are not established journalists supposed to become journalists without actually getting out there and doing work and reporting on things that they see? I don't understand. This guy has always been the type of guy who has climbed to the top and then pees on everybody below him. Come down, like, how's the view from your high horse there, my guy? Anyway, it's not even the full story like he's saying. People are acting like this is an open and shut case now that he broke this story, and we might not even actually ever get the full story. But it's important to remember that this is just a response to the initial story that Taylor broke open. To be honest, logic dictates Jason's story is probably true, but it's not an ultimate truth. Yes, it never made sense that if money was a factor in a union-based project, that they'd replace her with Jennifer Hale, who is a more veteran and more prolific voice actress. But, you know, everyone thinks IGN and EA are in bed together, the same with IGN and the annual COD releases. So, I don't know, Nintendo or Platinum could have just as easily cashed Jason a check as anyone else. Everyone's reputation is on the line here, so jumping the gun on either side is silly. But that being said, I still stand by the reasons I said that I won't be getting this game at launch. If I ever do get it. I don't personally like when mediums change actors. It's just me. That's how I feel. It will be most likely a lesser product to me, and in an already crowded release window with an overly inflated economy, it's a tough time, and I'm not jumping on board. I'm not 100% certain for full price. Sorry. No matter the reasonings, the actress still changed, and I'm not a fan of that. You know, I totally understand if this change won't affect you at all, and I completely won't judge anyone for getting or not getting any game for any reason. Unless it's Crossfire X, because that was an awful game. But again, you know, Platinum and Taylor have both presented no evidence and just presented claims, so there's no way to tell who's right until receipts start showing up, since they're both just claiming the other one is lying. While it certainly looks like Platinum Games is the one that's being misrepresented, there's still a possibility that it's the David of a voice actor against the Goliath of a well-funded developer. We won't know yet, and you know, I'll be keeping an eye on the situation for further developments of the story. So let me know what you guys think though in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Post any updates you might have heard about the story below. subscribe for the next video, and you know what? Just let me know. Who do you think is right? Do we have the whole story here? Did you hear enough to make a decision? And like I said, go to the Bloomberg article, link in the description below if you want to listen to the article, because that's the hack. And as always, guys, I'm Soundwave Spectre, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. A little bit of post-production here. I got the audio version of the article up, assuming it doesn't get copyrighted. So here you go. Saves you a click. Enjoy.
A tense pay dispute overshadows Nintendo's upcoming Bayonetta 3. A pay dispute between the creator of a critically acclaimed video game series and its star voice actor reignited a long-simmering debate over wages in the industry. As is often the case in these sorts of disagreements, the details surrounding negotiations and casting for the upcoming game, Bayonetta 3, are more complicated than what has been portrayed publicly. The feud spilled out into the open over the weekend, when Hellena Taylor, the star of the first two Bayonetta games, said she would not appear in the next iteration, set to be released for the Nintendo Switch on October 28. She posted a series of videos Saturday on Twitter, accusing Nintendo Company and the game's developer, Platinum Games, of offering her a total of $4,000 to reprise her role. She said she rejected the lowball offer and asked fans to refrain from buying the game. "If you're someone who cares about people, who cares about the world around you, who cares about who gets hurt with these financial decisions, then I urge you to boycott this game," Taylor said in one of the videos. The videos went viral, racking up more than 9.5 million views on Twitter. Taylor's story touched a nerve among gamers. Voice actors are beloved by fans but fail to command anywhere close to what a Hollywood actor makes. Game actors have long complained of being underpaid and underappreciated. Some have said they receive little information about their roles until they show up in the recording booth. The industry operates in such clandestine ways that actors sometimes won't even know what game they're recording lines for until it's released. The tensions last crested during contract negotiations in 2016 when the union representing many voice actors, the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, orchestrated a strike that lasted nearly a year. One of the sticking points was residuals, meaning compensation for actors when sales of a game outperform expectations. Voice actors gave up that fight in exchange for receiving bonuses based on the number of sessions they work. In the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to two people familiar with the negotiations as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Here's where their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio, said the people, who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss private contract negotiations. That would make the total for the game at least $15,000. In response, they said, Taylor asked for a 6-figure sum as well as residuals on the game. Platinum declined and, following lengthy negotiations, took auditions for a new actor. Platinum later offered Taylor a cameo in the game for the fee of 1 session, which she turned down, the people said. In an email, Taylor described this account as an absolute lie and said Platinum was trying to save their ass and the game. She said she stood by everything she said in the video. "I would like to put this whole bloody franchise behind me, quite frankly, get on with my life in the theater," she wrote. Representatives for Platinum Games and Nintendo didn't respond to requests for comment. Hideki Kamiya, the executive director of Bayonetta 3, called Taylor's allegations sad and deplorable in a Twitter post. Regardless, Taylor's comments resonated widely, dominating headlines on gaming websites and even gracing the digital pages of TMZ. Several of Taylor's peers spoke out after her videos. Brian Deckard, who acted in Cyberpunk 2077 and Red Dead Redemption 2, said he was offered $4,000 to work on a non-union project for a big-budget game. Sean Chiplock, who voiced 3 characters in the Nintendo blockbuster The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, said he was paid about $3,000 for that job. The Bayonetta series is beloved by fans and critics but has never been a big commercial success. The Nintendo Switch version of Bayonetta 2, released in 2018, has sold just over 1 million copies, far fewer than many of Nintendo's other offerings. For Bayonetta 3, the acting costs were higher than other projects because the studio relied on union performers, said 3 people familiar with the game's production, which meant a minimum of about $900 for a 4-hour voice session plus bonuses. Prominent actors or franchise stars like Taylor usually make more. In her videos, Taylor mentioned Jennifer Hale, the prolific voice actor who took over the role of Bayonetta in the new game. "I wish her all the joy in the world, I wish her all the jobs, but she has no right to say she is the voice of Bayonetta," Taylor said. "I created that voice. She has no right to sign merchandise as Bayonetta." Hale faced some vicious online harassment as a result. She wrote Monday on Twitter that she had signed a non-disclosure agreement and couldn't elaborate on the situation. "I sincerely ask that everyone keep in mind that this game has been created by an entire team of hard-working, dedicated people, and I hope everyone will keep an eye open about what they've created," she wrote. A few hours later, she retweeted a Twitter thread from another voice actor saying, "If you only hear one side, or part of one side, of a story, you haven't heard the whole story."